MDA meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock on April the 4th. If you could all stand and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have anybody here for public forum tonight? Pardon me? Oh, sorry. You want to do a roll call, Elizabeth?
Yep. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Put my sheet out here. Okay, I had the extra one out. Now I'm not quite sure where it went. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay. Tar?
Here.
Kellogg?
Here.
Malzahn?
Here.
Brandt?
Here.
Rose is absent. Hayes?
Here.
Poznanski?
Here.
Stevens?
Here.
Parker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. On the approval of the agenda, I would like to add on the committee report C, the employment committee.
No, we're working off the agenda that was on the table, right?
Yes.
Okay. Double check.
Yes, and I apologize that I did not say revised agenda. That was my my error. So sorry about that. Some of those things came in today. So.
Do we also want to add agenda unfinished business, or I'm sorry, new business, E, changing that employment committee to a review? I know you're going to put it under committee reports, but I don't know if you want an official vote on the formation of who's going to serve and what their focus is.
Oh, are we changing the employment committee?
Well, technically, we have, we call it a hiring committee before.
Okay.
So if we're gonna call it an employment committee, that's fine. I just didn't know what the focus was, if you're gonna talk about what that focus is, or if you're just reporting back that we met under their committee reports.
I think that, and then did you want to, under new business, go?
Why don't you change it to just hiring committee, and that puts it right back to the people who are there.
Well, since we're not actually hiring anybody, I think it's more of a, right, employment/review, job
Okay.
performance review committee.
So is that new business then?
Yes.
All right.
So what do you want that named?
Under new business,
Employment.
employment committee,
Okay.
job review.
Okay.
Okay, with that revision, can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on March the 7th. Can we get an approval for that?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 7th meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to our financial report. Now, the financials are in the first packet that were sent out to you on Thursday. And Carla's going to go through that with us.
Okay, so on the statement of financial, well, let's see what's in my director report. Yeah, so under the statement of financial position, under the bank accounts, you can see that everything has been transferred into Tri-County Bank. We now have $350,000 in that account. The Huntington cash accounts are all closed, all three of them. And the money was deposited into Tri-County. I think, so now we will only have one account, but it earns interest the whole time. It also serves as a checking account. I think it's going to make things a lot easier. It'll be easy to see, etc. So I think this is actually going to work out really well for you. And the only thing is that the interest rate wasn't posted because I had to close the month before the month ended, so that we could get the reports done on time. So, so a few little things are missing, but overall I think that this is still a fair representation of March activity. You know, the interest is going to be $20 or something. It's not like it misstates the balances very well. The only item in accounts payable was the Visa bill, which you'll meet Michelle later, but Michelle and I just paid that today. And then there's a copy of it later on in the packet that you can look at the details. But the nice thing is, for the board's comfort level, is that when the check is signed by Kelly and Zach, the bill is with it, so they can review the bills at that time on your behalf. So there's an added
I
level
like that.
now of...
I like that you added that.
Yeah, it's an extra level of
Yeah,
security.
it's nice to
that-
have checks and balances with all
Yes.
of the credit card
Yeah.
statements.
Well, and for all, it's for all bills though, not just the Visa, it's for all bills.
Nice.
And so the other thing I want to point out was under current assets, the uncollected TIF in the prior year was $52,000. We have received all of the revenue, I think, that we're expecting to receive this year. That account was used to accrue revenue until it's received. Since it's been received this year, I zeroed that account out in the current fiscal year. So you can see that you have a current year net revenue of $104,000. Last year was $137,000. Just mostly that's going to be that accrued revenue, but it's also just timing of expenses and so forth. So on the statement of activity, we received, it was about $27,000, 17 from Washington and 10 from Bruce in the revenue area, which will show on one of the other attached schedules, that revenue schedule. So that was the change in that. Otherwise, it was a quiet month. Last month was a lot busier with Winterfest. This month, you can tell from the bills paid schedule, there was only, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 5 checks written. So it was a lot quieter of a month in terms of expenditures. The biggest expenditure was a 50% payment for the flowers of $8,300. So since I prepare the statement year to date, I'm not actually showing you March's individual activity, but effectively between the cash statement and the billing and the bill payment schedule, you can tell everything that happened in the month. So if you want us, the amended budget versus actually I'll take any questions, sorry. Any questions on the financial statement so far? Under the budget versus actuals, I updated it to the amended budget as approved at the last board meeting. So things are going to make a lot more sense now. Everything that we're spending lines up with the budgeted amounts, and it all just makes sense. The one thing that you will see is that really there's no longer a section for the brick and mortar because we didn't put a budget in there and we haven't spent any money in that area. Right now, the amended budget is projecting a $54,000 loss, but again, if that money is not spent as allocated in the budget, then that just becomes a part of the fund balance for next year. So it's not like just because you've put that money in the budget, it doesn't mean that you lose it or anything happens to it if you don't spend it. The cash transactions, again, under that deposits and transfers, that shows how all the money came out of the Huntington and went into Tri-County, the 289,000. I performed the bank reconciliations and made sure that everything was set for moving over. The rest of it is all fairly miscellaneous. The 9,000 under paid bills is the next schedule, the bill payment list. So I put in, some descriptions of what the money was spent for. So if you ever have questions with that. And then the payroll amounts now include Madison, the intern, and the really great thing is that QuickBooks is now set up that everything is auto paid, the taxes are paid. We just did payroll tonight in about 20 seconds. So it was great.
And it's direct deposit.
And I didn't have to
Everything's
write
direct
it. I didn't have to
deposited,
deposit a check.
everything, all the taxes are paid automatically and direct deposited. So you can feel really confident that that is being done correctly. Any other questions? And then on the bills page, that listing, and then the revenue schedule, under the capture assessment, the top lines under Bruce and Washington, the 10,000 and 17,000, you can see to the right there, the March, they were received on, or they were printed on March 15th and March 21st, and you can see then down kind of in this section right here, it shows what was calculated to be collected, $209.65. Amount actually collected, $445. The difference is $520. It's miscellaneous. It won't be anything that we'll follow up on. So you can see that you've collected all that we anticipated that you would collect for the current year. Any questions? Okay.
How long will you be working with us, do you know?
About 2 more hours of training.
Okay.
Maybe a little more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Carla, you did a great job in righting the ship and getting us legal, I think.
I'm hopeful that it's the way that you wanted. But it's definitely a big improvement, even if it's not exactly what you want.
Well, if you guys go back to that yellow form, that was what we were looking at typically with our budget and stuff, so. I need a motion to pay the Spunce bills in the amount of $9,963.29.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Roll call?
Was that Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, yeah.
Is that including this detail of the credit card? Is that what this one is?
Yes.
No, it does not, because we did not write that check until April, until today, so. That was in accounts payable.
So this isn't okay.
No, see that listing of the bills paid, the checks that were written? It's like the second to the last page in my report.
Yeah, there's $10 for copies, there's online training with the,
It looks like that.
That's the complete total.
That's the total of the actual checks written. This Visa statement will be in next month's listing then.
Yeah, we thought it was getting paid prior to the board meeting, so that's why it was in there. And that's part of the reason why we're talking about the meeting schedule, because we'll talk about that later. So.
Can you take a roll on the bills?
Yes. Yeah. Well, Megan had a question, so I just wanted to make
okay.
sure. Any other questions on that? Okay. Tar?
Yes.
Kellogg?
Yes.
Malzahn?
Until we change that policy that has talked about with legal counsel, I'm going to recuse myself because there was a check for Romeo printing.
Was it in the credit card statement or a separate?
No,
check?
it's-
It was separate. Okay.
It's only $10.88, but wanted to make sure that there isn't a conflict of interest there.
Understood. Okay. Brandt?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Kosminski?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, on to the DDA Executive Director's Report.
Okay, so our intern has become a valuable member of the DDA team. Website content, download, downtown business information gathering, and event planning have been her areas of focus this month. Her professionalism with our business community has been commented on several times within just the first 2 weeks of her job. she's just jumping right into it today. It's been a lot of fun to work with her. As you can see, after receiving 2 resumes and conducting interviews with the board chair and our accountant, the position has been filled. With direction from the board chair, Carla Heck has just started training and turnover over the course of the next 2 weeks. We anticipate this to be a smooth transition. No funds were used for ad placement, as this was done via social media, the Village of Romeo website, and word of mouth. So you'll get to meet Michelle here in just a minute. The DDA events for 2022, we had a post-event meeting for Romeo Winterfest on Thursday, March 10th to review what worked, what didn't, and how we can improve, expand for next year. It was well attended with a mix of residents, business owners, and DDA board members. We had, I believe, 12 or 13 people in attendance. It was determined that a DDA event committee should be formed. Our first meeting was just this last Thursday, March 31st, and more information will be provided under new business. The first payment of our vendor has been sent out. We have seen photos of the planters, and we've put them on social media, and they are growing beautifully. We'll be getting an update every few weeks to check on their growth and their care, and the vendor believes that all of our materials are in good conditions, but we've ordered 2 planters as backups, as a few have some structural issues that might have to be replaced. We have some soil issues with a few of the planting beds in our alleyways. In addition, there's an interest in putting some edible landscaping as a pilot program. As such, I plan to pursue a volunteer program and see where this takes us. Our current flower vendor is willing to assist or advise with the soil amendments. If the alleyway project is looked at favorably by the DDA board tonight, I will pursue a permit through the village to grant a temporary closure of the alleyway request. This falls in line with the village master plan, the DDA master plan, and interest from the downtown community. This is a way for us to test the waters for donations of money, materials, and volunteer hours. As was discussed last fall, an inventory needs to be conducted for our banners. We'd like to select from our existing inventory to dress up our downtown while we wait for spring to be in full bloom. I would like to pursue getting them picked up. Okay, so now I have to stop because it changed a little bit today and I can't just read from my script. After discussing a few things with DPW, we might be able to do it on site so they don't have to be moved. We might be able to do it in a warm, I guess you guys purchased like the Gulf cart plain containers. They have wheels on them. So we can just wheel them from the warehouse over to the main building and not have to actually transport them. Because it's cold. If you've ever been out to that building, it's cold in there and it's dirty and gross. And so we have the benefit of time and resources to be able to look at that and get some of those taken care of. So we won't be moving them to the office as I had put in here. The budget preparations, as you know, are well underway. We've had 2 workshops with valuable input, and Carl and I have worked together to present a budget that's fiscally responsible while pursuing a multitude of improvements to the downtown district. This year's proposed budgets includes 1 capital improvement and will utilize fund balance for that expenditure. And then on the second page, just continues to talk about the Michigan Downtown Association. I know Chair Kelly Stevens was taking advantage of one of those webinars today. Really important, and I'm not sure how she's going to talk about moving forward as far as input from people, how those are impacting how you see yourself as a board member, but it's been some really good stuff. And the webinars, I continue to attend those for best practices and other things. There was a valuable conference last month in Lansing, but my time was needed here, but I look forward to attending the fall conference this fall. So that's what I have there. Oh, and one last thing. It was an add-on that you got today. We got a really wonderful email from one of our downtown businesses, Verona Creative Marketing, and as a result of some of our social media posts, they've picked up a couple accounts. So they're really grateful to see how the DDA is supporting the downtown businesses. Are there any questions about anything?
Yeah, your downtown beautification paragraph, you speak in here of a permit to close temporarily an alleyway. I wasn't tracking where you were talking about there.
Sure. So that's next to, it's in between I'm sure there's a name for it, I just don't know what it is. In between Michigan Juntiques and the gas station. So that alleyway right there. And we have that under new business as item 11B.
I have a quick question. So you guys formed a DDA event committee at a Winterfest meeting. Is it the executive director's job to form subcommittees, or is it this board's job to form subcommittees?
Well, based on your question, it sounds like you're giving me an answer.
I'm curious
I guess,
because
you know,
I thought it was usually that the board makes a motion to form a subcommittee, and then we assign people from the board to those committees.
I, as an
And-
executive director in another position, form my own committees with volunteers signing up for them. So I don't know what you guys have done in the past here.
And there were 3 board members present that are part of, was there 3? 2. That were part of the planning meeting. And so it was, as a recap, it was like, well, what if we have all these business owners, volunteers, let's say, what events should we come up with? What might be a good idea? So that's why under item 11C, the events calendar, that's why I'm presenting that to you tonight for review and consideration of what we could do moving forward with that.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, I obviously, if people want to volunteer and help, I think that's wonderful. But I mean, I hear your point, Zach, like, this is just something that I think we should have been a part of in helping institute, and, yeah, not just,
Well, I think Elizabeth's invited everybody on this board to all those meetings, so.
so that means we shouldn't have a say in how our
Well,
subcommittees are
if you would have
formed.
been at the meetings, then you would have known, that was.
But these
going
are
forward.
our official meetings. Those are not, and that's where.
Motions can't be made at those meetings. We can't make decisions at those meetings.
There's a difference between a subcommittee of officially appointed individuals and those that are just meeting to share ideas and collaborate on projects, which is what I think this is. Right? It's
Right, but it's
different.
representing-
It's different than if you have a committee that's thinking on their own and making those decisions versus a gathering that's giving ideas and direction to Elizabeth, who's bringing that back for approval from this board. So I think they're not really apples to apples. I understand Zach's point of view.
But that
If
would
it
be
was
like
an
someone
official
just creating
subcommittee.
a subcommittee for the village and deciding we're gonna have a subcommittee for the village without having the actual council saying, yes, we would like that.
This is not
we
a
did
subcommittee
it.
for the village, this is a
Right.
subcommittee for the DDA to
I'm
help with
making a
events.
comparison.
But the village isn't putting on events. These are people that are volunteering as residents, business owners that have come to this meeting and expressed an interest in supporting what the DDA is currently
Right,
doing.
I don't think you're understanding me. In essence, it's just people, this is the DDA committee. And if we would like an event committee, I think we should establish it and then create that and what the bounds are that we wish for this committee to do. And then everybody works on that.
She's bringing you back the information. They're not making any decisions. She's coming back to these meetings with that information
Right,
for
but then
this
what happens
board.
when we go, well, that's not what we want? And you go, well, you never gave us any directives. That's kind of the point. When we form it, we give a directive to the committee.
So what, you don't want her to host these meetings with these volunteers?
Are you hearing what I'm saying? I said, I think we need to form this formally and give it a directive, a direction.
So she has a group of people that are willing to sit on this committee. What does this board want to do with this committee?
This is no different than when we did the clock. When we were looking at the clock, I think, Kelly, you sat on that.
No, I wasn't part of it then.
No, but you sat, that was my point. You were there, but you didn't sit on the DDA board.
Correct.
Right, but we formed that subcommittee at the
So-
DDA level, and then we invited others to be a part of it, others who were volunteers.
Well, why don't we make a motion right now, just to form a.
Well, they've already met.
Well, but we could still make a motion, let's just form a committee and let Elizabeth keep doing the hard work she's doing and getting it done and bringing us ideas. So, I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate to make a motion of make a motion to form an event committee and then let Elizabeth, continue pushing and gathering ideas. And then it's formalized, if that helps, because we've got a full agenda here and
So who's currently on the committee then? You said there's 3 people from this
I've been
board?
at every meeting.
Okay,
Me too.
okay, so Elizabeth, Kelly, and who's the third?
I have been in occasion, when available.
Yeah, when she can pop upstairs, yeah.
And I think the committee is different people at different times. I don't think it's not always regular people or the same attendance.
Yeah, we have several business owners that are on that, and then just straight up volunteers.
so it sounds like a brainstorming workshop.
Yeah. That's
So-
pretty much what it is.
And then we have as you see under item 11C, we actually have an events calendar to present to you for consideration, so.
So Greg, you made a motion.
I will make a motion that this board forms an event committee that Elizabeth can host when she sees fit, and invite those who've interested parties to sit alongside her and brainstorm and give ideas.
And that board's gonna consist of Kelly Stevens, Christine Malzahn, and Elizabeth Kellogg from representing the board.
Yep, or whoever else would like to, as long as we don't get into the Open Meetings Act deal where there's too many folks, so.
Can I get a second to that motion?
I would
Can I,
support that.
can I repeat, that was a long one, so I'm wondering if I can abbreviate it just a smidge,
got it,
Greg, would that be
yep.
okay? So board motion to form an events committee to host as the director sees fit to include Kelly Stevens, Elizabeth Kellogg, and Christine Malzahn. Is that about right?
Yeah, and invite any other participants that would be willing to share constructive ideas for the village.
And I supported it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Policy Committee. In your packets this evening, there is the property agreement that we presented last month, and then there's also our conflict of interest policy. We need to have these signed tonight by the board members. The policy, or the conflict of interest policy, has not been instituted or signed by any board member. Nobody could remember. So this was drafted in 2008. Was it revised, did you say, by Lisa?
No, that was a different policy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the grant and, that was the facade and improvement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, in your packets, if you guys could sign those and get them to Elizabeth before you leave tonight, that would be appreciated.
I'm sorry, did we want to address the other input that we gathered from Village Attorney Mark Clark today, especially on the conflict of interest policy, with the support and purchases made from local businesses under a certain threshold could or could not be a conflict of interest?
Okay.
And we talked about revising that appropriately, because there is some wording that he suggested.
Well, is
So-
this one for the DDA exactly the same as the
It is
village?
not.
Okay.
It is not.
Okay.
Right.
Do you want me to mention that, Christine? Is that
I
what you're
wasn't sure if we were
suggesting?
talking about, or if you just wanted everybody to sign this today, and then.
Oh, that's up to
Then we
you
were
all.
going to talk about updating our policies. There's a lot of policies that the village has in play. I'm actually in process of working on a compilation, so that everybody has the same policies, and we review that whole compilation, whether we make changes or not. At the beginning of the year is gonna be the recommended date when we review our rules of procedure. I think that's probably the safer route to go, to make sure that everybody, new members, when they come on board, get that in their welcome packet, and you take a look at those. We wanna make sure they're all current, they're all up to date. I think that we're also gonna work, as we talked about, this employment review committee, a memorandum of understanding for, our employee, and we wanna make sure that everybody has those same documentations. So, it's up to you, Chair. If you want us to sign this tonight, we certainly can do that, but I do believe that there are some edits that would be appropriate.
But Christine, those edits, if I may, those edits would actually be to the bylaws, not strictly to, because under the bylaws, under the conflict of interest section, there's no an amount. So the question was, if you see a Visa bill, for example, and let's say there's a charge to Romeo Printing, Main Street Coffee Shop, FAMS, and Vera's. Well, now you don't have a quorum. Or now you don't have a majority vote because everyone has to abstain, because there's no limit amount. So he suggested when y'all look at revising the bylaws, that you look at that amount and put in there like a conflict of interest amount, not, under the amount of this amount. So in other words, if there's a $50 charge on there for one of your or whatever, maybe it's up to 500, maybe it's 1,000, I don't know, whatever you guys decide, you can still vote on it as long as it doesn't exceed that amount. So it isn't a conflict of interest, but it would be outside the conflict of interest policy, as it's a bylaw issue, not the other policy.
Well, I think we can go ahead and sign this tonight, and then if there's revisions, which I don't know how long that's gonna take, correct?
I'm not sure either. I mean, I don't think it's very lengthy. It's just, again, somebody with the man hours to go and revisit that and make sure that everything, is current. I would assume that this board would want to review each one of these, along with our social media policy, and, I mean, there's other policies that are in play. And I think, just as a matter of best practices, if we reviewed them annually as a body of the whole, we would make sure there was any, I didn't get that, or, right? This may need to be updated because of this circumstance that cropped up. That's all.
Okay, but because we didn't have this in place from the beginning of the year, why don't we just go ahead and sign this as board members tonight, and then if there's revisions, then we will address that.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Fair enough.
Okay? So if you guys can fill those out before we leave.
You want the conflict of interest form?
And the
The
property.
I think it's just it's the last page. We kept them stapled just because there was so much in there. I didn't want it to be, so you could just pull the last page off from the conflict of interest policy, and then the other one is just a separate one, a single sheet from last month.
Okay? All right, the parking study committee. Anybody? I'm not on the parking.
It's been a while since we last met. I think the last time we all touched base, it was just myself, Elizabeth, and President Malzahn. And I think it's since gone to council just to let them know to be prepared, that there would be some sort of, we'd be asking for some sort of cost sharing when it comes to signage. Elizabeth was looking into some of the legality to make sure that, anything from handicap parking to making sure that the verbiage is correct for towing of vehicles, because that has to be all on the up and up before we implement that. But we did designate a few different kind of like, I want to call them maybe test areas. And Elizabeth, have you spoken with all those business owners?
Yeah, so there's a preliminary, verbal, yes, this sounds like something that we could do a joint venture on. But we also have to, I got a recommendation for a sign company who's done some of that from Roe, and I have not had a chance to contact them to move forward on that. I'm not skilled to create signage for parking areas and whatnot, and so I think we really need to see what an independent company can do in regards to that, and there's legal there's a lot. I'd love for it to be done in 2 weeks, but it seems that there's a whole lot more involved there than.
Are the folks in Lake Orion helpful?
They are. Mm-hmm. They are helpful.
'Cause I would think they've been doing it a while, right? We could probably replicate a lot of stuff they're doing.
And I have copies of those as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've got good local sign folks in town too, so I think if you give them what you need or what you'd like to have them replicate, I think it'd be important to try to give the local people a bite at the apple on these projects. It only makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, I agree.
There may be a little more complication in that because we have the County Road Commission involved, and along St. Clair and along Van Dyke requires that they follow the guidelines by the Michigan State Police. They're the authority that would say what you can and cannot have, and they have a standard sign. So if we were looking to have something created for the private / then public parking spaces, you wouldn't be able to put that on Main Street
Right.
without following their process. So I think there is a little more work that has to be done just to make sure that we're being consistent, because that's key, right? But also following all the rules from the parties involved.
The downtown signs, as you know, they're all quite faded. You can barely see that it says it's a 3-hour limit. So if those can actually be done in a fairly short order as far as, because we have to go through the I got it in my notes, I'm not sure what page it's on, but we have to go through the state police, actually, because there's a code we have to follow. Because if there's enforcement, it has to be backed up by the state police, what their codes are. So we might be able to do the signs downtown actually sooner than the parking signs that go up, believe it or
Can we
not.
do those durations shorter than 3 hours as well?
So I'm glad you brought that up. My recommendation for that is for us to change most of that parking to 2-hour limits, and then in a few of the blocks where there's a lot more frequency coming in and out, that the ones on the corners be changed to 15 minutes. That would probably only be at a max 4 spaces. That would be changed to 15 minutes.
It's important for those people who are, building businesses that require quick ins and outs. I mean, Zach's a great example on Main Street. John down there, the restaurants up front where people got to run in and do a pickup order or something like that. So whatever, but yeah, that would be my vote as well.
Is that something that I need to get an approval from you all on, or is it that conversation between the village office and the state and our office?
I think you're heading in the right direction. I don't know if anybody else has any more input, but I think it's got the village at best at heart there.
We also have to take a look at conversations with our chief of police, because if it does become an enforcement issue, right, you have to make sure we have the manpower and the skills and the ability to actually enforce that. Who's marking, who's monitoring? Is that car there 15 minutes, or are they there 16 minutes? Right, and how are they being
You
towed?
can't
So,
mark a car.
I'm sorry?
You can't mark a car.
I know,
Okay.
right, I know, and that's part of the problem of why things aren't being enforced around the park right now, because the courts have ruled that those
You
old school
can't.
methods of monitoring are applicable, and we don't have the assets in place to, drone footage, to film it, to review all that. It's a little more complicated than just issuing a parking ticket.
John had some stuff, he's not here tonight, but he showed me some stuff from Hamtramck that he personally experienced when he was down there on some monitoring of parking spaces and such. But I think some of this will just be crossing our fingers, that people just kind of abide by the sign, and as
Right.
Scare them into.
well, there's lots of,
doing
there's speed limit signs all over the place, and yield signs and stop signs that aren't always adhered to perfectly either, but at least most people do, so.
I just don't want there to be an expectation by this board or any of boards that,
I think
just
that's
because
fair.
we put a sign that says 15 minutes or 1 hour, or 2 hours or 5 hours, that it can necessarily be enforced, because there's some other conversations that have to take place and what we can and cannot do.
Yeah,
So,
and I think you're looking for those egregious people who,
absolutely.
will be easy to monitor then,
The majority of people will follow it because that's what it says there, but then there'll be the few that were like.
Right?
And now you'll be able to
Track
read
me
the
down
signs.
wherever I'm at, right, enjoying my third beer, I don't
So
know.
in answering your question, as far as I'm concerned, unless the rest of the board has something different, keep going, bring back us some great recommendations or ideas, and then we'll help get it approved or make it happen, whatever you need to do.
Thank you. I'm the way that I'm seeing this is phase 1, and enforcement isn't part of phase 1, or probably even 2 or 3. If I look at Marquette's DDA, for example, they have 1 enforcement officer, and anybody who comes and visits there, because these are conversations I've had with their DDA director, anyone who comes and visits, they all obey the signs because they don't want a ticket. They don't know what the enforcement issues are. It's all the locals who know when the enforcement officer is on vacation. And so they know they can park there because she's not in town, but all the visitors have no idea. They just see a 2-hour parking sign and we better pay attention to that. So.
Right. We don't want our car towed. All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Unfinished business, website development.
Did you have item C, employment committee under?
No, we moved that down.
Oh, you
to-
moved it down, okay.
Yep.
Okay, unfortunately, Sean had an emergency he has a horse farm as well, and had to go to Michigan for that. And I don't have the equipment to hook everything up, but what I wanted to do, and it's like that little tiny TV that everybody gathers around from a million years ago, I'm happy to play it for you. You can see the preliminary video.
Do you want
If
to
you
talk?
want.
Well, we have the logo.
Oh, I'm sorry,
logo
yes,
first.
we do have that first, I'm sorry, yes. So, our new logo has been designed and created pro bono by the same phenomenal team that brought us our Winterfest marketing designs and website. After tonight's presentation, additional aspects and features of the new logo would continue to be developed in the coming months to use in a myriad of ways for marketing and branding purposes. The color scheme, size, etc. can be adjusted to suit the intended purpose of use. This would replace the current logo. You can see it on the second page there. The second one, where it does not have that small town big heart on there, would be the preliminary one. Or I'm sorry, would be the what's the word I'm looking for? Would be the one that would be used all the time. And then we would do a version of, where appropriate, using that tagline, or it might be just all solid black as opposed to having some of the red in there, just to offer some flexibility, just like what we did with Winterfest. So,
Any comments on the logo? I like it.
Yeah.
Is this a Sean creation, or is that?
this is not. This is Jessica Newby, who did all the Winterfest. He's done some variations of it because she's given him all the files, and so he takes it and he's modified it on the website and is putting it in which you'd see in various levels if we're able to pull the video up.
My only comment would be, I would wish there would be some sort of wording or something, or even just the letting people know this is the Romeo Downtown Development Authority, the DDA. Just saying historic downtown Romeo doesn't let them know that this is the DDA speaking.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. And interestingly enough, Elizabeth Kellogg did quite a bit of, because she was looking at some of the website stuff as it was being developed, and everyone was invited to that as well. Didn't you check like over 45 different DDAs around the country, and almost all of them have switched to downtown whatever the city is, because no one knows what a DDA is. And so even our website will still say romeodda.org, and then we've also captured downtownromeo.net and a bunch of other ones, but they'll all dump into romeodda.org. No one understands what a DDA is, and so the trend in all of downtown developments have been to convert to this, and this is what is the progressive way moving forward for most of them.
Does it help if there was a small set off to the side that just said DDA, sort of like a registered trademark, sort of little
Yeah, just
pieces?
even if it says
Yeah, I would like
DDA
that.
or something like that, just so it would, because you could look at this and almost think Village of Romeo, downtown Romeo, and not know DDA, Village Romeo, that was my thought.
I think it just comes into your marketing, right? As you're marketing, as you're putting on social media, right? The people who are putting this logo forward, people will associate the two together. I think if you add, any more elements, again, your eye doesn't quite know what to look at. There's a lot going on right here, so I think the simpler, the better. And you're right, no one knows. Even if you spelled out Downtown Development Authority, they don't know what that is. So I think it's a bit, right.
But this is being used in conjunction with the DDA website, the
Correct.
DDA page,
Correct.
social media.
You will see this on our master plan, right? Every bit of marketing information for the events going forward, right, will all have this logo, and they will associate the two.
Yeah, other parts of the country, they actually have even changed. It doesn't even say, it's not even Downtown Development Authority, it's the Uptown Authority, or it's the Downtown Authority, or it's because again, no one knows what that means, but that's your guys' call.
I think the logo is great. It's nice and fresh. Jessica did a great job.
Well, you are the logo expert, so we'll go with what Christine says.
I had no input on it, other than she showed it to me and I went, brilliant, right? Great job.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the new DDA logo as presented.
I will second it.
Was that Tar?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Now you can show us the,
So will this be trademarked or anything like that? Like, can Zach just blow it on shirts without having to pay a royalty or something?
Oh, you
I
read
don't
my mind,
know.
Greg. I was gonna
That
cash
is a
in.
great question.
You should do it, though. You should
Trademark
submit
it?
it for,
Couple $100. Is it?
Actually, it's $45. Intellectual property policy probably should follow that, because they just had to do that for the village's web logo.
Okay.
But I can actually talk you right through that.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That is a really great suggestion. And Zach, if you'd like to borrow it, it'll only be $5 a shirt.
All right, great.
Exactly. 50 cents, you did a quarter.
It'll go into my fundraising fund,
My
remember?
son's getting paid for his jersey, if anybody wants to buy one. Buy enough, and they'll pay for school, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We
Yeah.
can do that.
So how are we gonna do this, Elizabeth?
Okay, so I'm gonna stand up and come up there and I guess play it. We'll see how it goes. So this isn't final. We were hoping to launch the website by tomorrow. Based on this delay, it's probably going to be another week. How many of you have gone into a newly opened restaurant or shop and you see like a carbon copy, like just like a black and white copy of their menu, and you're like, why didn't they just wait another week? We don't want to launch this thing when it's just not quite there. So there will be some pages when it does launch. There will be some pages when you click on it, it'll say more information coming soon, as opposed to it saying a dead URL. We don't want dead URLs. Would you want to see a dead URL on our website? I don't think so. But we want to definitely get rid of the old one. So what you're going to see, you'll see a quick video. I'm going to try to make the sound work, and then you'll at least get the flavor of what the new website's going to look like. So I apologize that the rest of he sends his apologies as well. We'll go from there. So
So did everybody get their headshot for this website?
we do not have all of them. Greg, yours just came in this afternoon, along with mine, and then Vesna at First Street Photography was kind enough. She did Madison's as well, so she'll have a professional photo that she can take, and all of it is done
Gratis?
gratis, yes. And so she'll be able to take that headshot and those pictures for her next career, which would be great. So whoever else is going to have their pictures done, if you want not have a photo on it, that's your choice too. But if you could just let Kelly or I know, that would be really helpful. At this point, I'm not going to try to get anybody else to go in and get their picture done. So if you have a selfie, if you have a picture, if you want, it to be a Charlie Chaplin picture, whatever it is you want, we'll attend to your wishes. Okay. This is where we do a commercial, right? Somewhere, like a little standby.
How's that gonna work for filming, John? Yeah, there you go.
It's gonna look terrible. Oh, you can't zoom into it if it's over here. I don't know if it's gonna work. We'll just have to. We're also dealing with is the Wi-Fi in here usually good?
No,
Oh, okay.
that's why I said I have this Ethernet cable, but you don't have the right
No,
plug,
I don't
so
have the right cord,
you
so-
might be at a bit
I'm
of
an
a
Apple
disadvantage.
person.
Right.
I could also bring it up there and you guys could go behind you, or can you see it okay here?
No, not really.
Okay. Which part? No, not really.
Can't see it.
Do you guys want to go behind Kelly and Zach?
Put on a chair here maybe, and we'll just
okay.
come together here a bit. Who wants to see it anyway?
Improvise, right?
Adapt to and overcome.
What's that?
Adapt and overcome.
Yes. Oh. Well,
I looked at it this morning.
Well, we didn't have that luxury, Elizabeth, okay?
Well, if you go to.
Although I did talk to Sean very
I
early
did
this
see your
morning.
picture on there though, and I saw Kelly's and John's.
oh.
Yeah?
Oh, yes, yes, he used your old picture, but he'll put the new one on there.
I was trying to do the
Oh, here we
Putin
go.
shot.
It's awesome.
Okay, so the video.
Maybe tip it back a little bit, Elizabeth.
I can't.
The
It's
snow.
on a loop.
No,
The
the
screen?
screen, the tip
Oh,
it.
yeah,
There you
sorry.
go.
Hey, come on.
Yeah,
Wow.
great.
So there's like a little speaker thingy there. So this is the main page. All right, we're just gonna could do more of what he just said, improvise. So the logo will be up on the top, and then you'll see it says Experience Romeo, For Business, Get Involved, About Us. Those are all the drop downs. A contact, search bar. Our logo is the home page, and then there will also be a calendar link right there. This will be a running video. Oh, there it is. There'll be a running video. Then right below that, there are all these options: shop, dine, services. By hitting Discover More, it takes you to everything within any shop that's there. So for instance, under the shop category would be Carl, and Zach would be under the shop services. Under dine, anybody? No, nobody's Kelly's here restaurant. And then services would be like Greg's building, Kelly's.
Your video is going now.
That's what, yeah, I'm gonna click the other
Yep.
one. And then also, of course, Christine's businesses would be in there. And then at the very bottom, you have another version of that same downtown logo. The featured business of the month will be on the bottom left. The one over here is the next event that's coming up. And then, okay, so,
I think you got the volume off there too. There was an X.
that's because right now it's a plug-in,
Got it.
unless he messed with it this afternoon. Because this is a separate link until he, I don't know why it's doing that. Wow, I'm really selling this, huh? Come on.
Technology's great when it works, Elizabeth.
I know.
Frustrating when it doesn't.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not supposed to be
Okay.
that teeny tiny. But it looks really good if you just trust me.
Can you email everybody the link to it?
That's what I was wondering.
Oh, here it is. All right, it's trying to go. Here we go. Right down here. How many times has this happened at the library, Carla? It just worked 5 minutes ago, right?
There's
So
no
it
sound
opens.
now.
It opens with all these overhead shots that I think were done for Tar Financial, where it's all green, because we all know nothing's green down there, right there. And there's just all these shots of experience Romeo, all of the businesses. Kathy's in one of them saying downtown Romeo, and then there's restaurants in there and footage for inside the shops and the. So yes, I will send this to you. I would just obviously don't share it because it's not finalized. And all I can imagine is it has something to do with our internet here, so I apologize.
Okay.
So, but
Thank you.
what do you guys think of the layout of the front page?
I like it.
Will he incorporate any peaches or bulldogs in any way in the Romeo gig there? Are we all overdone with peaches forever and it's our way past and never to be thought of again, or?
That is a great question. Without him knowing the colors of the Village of Romeo logo and everything else, just knowing the colors of the school colors with red, white, and black, he kind of went with some of that theme there. And I was going more towards, well, what about peaches and orchards and apples and whatnot? And he said, do you want to pigeonhole downtown Romeo as just being Peach Festival, or do you want to open it up to a lot of other things that you can also be known for? It doesn't have to be a one and done event for the year, and that was interesting. And so I think, Elizabeth and I talked about that some. Madison's been in on some of these conversations and looking at other DDAs, again, looking at over 45 DDAs across the country. It's about how do you market your whole entire downtown for the whole year after year after year. So in answer to your question, the intention is not to stick a peach on there.
Well, that's why we moved from that logo to this circle one.
Right,
And that's
'cause it
where
was
the
just that
farm,
peach.
we gave the nod kind of to the farming community there. We got, because it used to be the peach, now two logos ago.
It's still on the current website.
Right.
Because we can't get it off.
So,
yeah.
I don't think we can make a adoption of the new website
I don't think so.
tonight, so we're gonna have to wait. Can you send us the link, though?
So do you not want us to launch it until May then?
Well,
I don't think it ultimately needs it. We already made the decision to
To go
redo
ahead
the
and-
website.
yeah.
I mean, we've adopted the new logo, which will appear on the website. Everything else is just kind of small details. I don't think we.
Okay.
I
so
don't
is the
think-
goal to launch it next week?
That would be the goal with it. I'm going to say a max of 2 weeks. For our purposes, from an office standpoint, I would graciously ask that we get this motion that I've written passed, just showing that you've adopted the new website, because building one was one thing, right? But approving, moving forward with it is another. But if you don't want, that's up to you guys.
No, that's fine.
I'll make a motion to adopt the new DDA website as presented.
Yeah, I'd second that.
What I would say is presented.
Yeah,
With
As
edits, with the
proposed.
As
edits
proposed, yeah.
Yeah.
As
What it
proposed, okay.
contains,
That, I like that, okay.
And Carl, you got Carl as the second on that?
proposed and hoped for.
Yeah, let me just
So
catch up
let's
with
go
you
back
guys.
then on all this real
Hold on,
fast.
hold on.
Give me 1 second. Who was the motion by you, Zach? Is that
Zach.
correct? Okay.
Second by Carl.
Okay, what was the
Everybody in
question?
favor?
Was there a question? I thought there was a question.
I just wanna, we can do the vote, it's sort of unrelated, but kind of, it's nothing to do with the website, I just wondering about the credentialing of it, like, when we update it, when we change it, who does that, who has the authority to do that? Is that all, like, you've got, or do we go through Sean, or what's the deal?
Yeah, so actually that's a really good question, and it's completely relevant to this motion. So he is not starting his, remember, if you remember from the proposal, it's included for 1 year, and I clarified with him last week, it's 1 year from launch, right? And he said, yes, we'll do that. So the $100 a month wouldn't start until a year from the actual launch date. So with that is included per the contract is anytime there's something to update, I can have access to it, but he said it's easier for them just to do it. He's in the midst of adding another staff person, and so we would, just an email, hey, can you update Greg Tarr's page with the following information? We have a new event we just authorized, can you add that on there? So there'll be some other ways that we can
And
plug
your
into it.
policy addresses, like, who can do that, like in your social media policy and such, was that kind of thought about?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's fine, we don't have to rehash it, I
I
just,
think we didn't listed all of the places.
Yeah.
I think. I'm pretty sure what we said.
Yeah, we did.
This might be a little off topic, but when we had originally hired Think Street Media, weren't they going to be working with the schools to get a lot of this content and kind of help with building the site, and wasn't that part of what was discussed?
It was discussed prior to looking at those proposals, but the school was not in a position to be able to bring that kind of assistance to the table just because they didn't feel comfortable with the skill set of their students with doing some of those things.
Gotcha.
So that's why we didn't get anywhere with. They wanted this whole proposal, and I was not in a place to come up with something like that at the beginning of my term with you guys, so.
Okay, so we had a motion on the floor to adopt the new DDA website by Think Street Media, presented by Zach, seconded by Carl. Can I get everybody in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed? Okay. Okay, pedestrian crosswalk project update.
Do you want me to lead that? Okay. So in reviewing the minutes and the motions from your October 5th, 2020 board meeting, it was discovered that an actual dollar amount had not been approved after the initial motion of a dollar amount failed. So for clarity for bill payment and budget purposes, this action must be completed with a roll call vote. And I've included the first page, and there was a lengthy minutes, and so I didn't want to give you all like 7 sheets of the rest that probably wasn't there, but I'm sure you still have it from before. But that was from your board meeting on October 5th. If you look at the highlighted areas, the first motion, and there was a lot of conversation in there, but the one that got approved just didn't have the dollar amount on there. So if you look at my the background on the action item, it just talks about that. So the recommended motion is there, and it's included in the draft budget. An amount of $90,000 was the recommended amount on that, based on your previous conversations.
Where is it? I know originally that project, when it was proposed, that was 2 years ago now, and there's definitely some increased costs on the projections that were given at that time. Where are we at cost-wise right now on those 5 crosswalks that we agreed to share in the funding?
I would defer to President Alzon on that. I don't have that information with me, I'm sorry.
So the bids are being opened May 6th, so we won't know the final bid yet, the price. It's projected. What that cost is $363,000. I'm sorry, I don't have that total number in front of me, so I'm not prepared to answer that, with $190,000 coming in from the grant. There is another $59,000. Again, not sure what that total number was, $59,200 and some dollars, if I'm not mistaken, from Village Council for the oversight, reporting, and management of that plan. that was approved at Wednesday's special meeting. There's also a $4,100 proposal for needed engineering. The County Road Commission, even though they knew what our plans were, they supported the plan when we submitted the grant for approval. They have since come back and said, well, now we need you to restring a temporary stoplight at the four corners. That's gonna require additional engineering, so that's one of the $4,100 for additional engineering of what does that look like. There's an anticipated cost of that, we don't know entirely, it's estimated at about $20,000, although I've asked the county to come back and cost share that with us, so they're in the process of figuring out what that is. So the cost right now should remain what we anticipated for the full 6. I realize that this board only was funding 5. Village Council decided to keep the 6th one in play, which is the Washington Street crosswalk, because that's a very prominent area, and we know there's a potential for more accidents there than there was at Church Street. So Church Street was the only pedestrian crosswalk that got left off of that project. So to your question, Zach, I don't believe there are any cost runs over than what we originally calculated, with the exception of the engineering, the reporting, and the oversight, which when we talked about this at that level, we knew that engineering would be on top of, right, the actual cost for construction. So there are some additional costs that will be borne by the village for oversight, maintenance, and reporting. If you're willing to go over your 90,000, I'm all for entertaining that. I have no objections, but I assumed with the limited budget that you're working on, that the rest of this would be coming out of the village capital.
So I have a
fund
question.
balance.
So when we failed, when the motion failed for the 100,000, we took those 2 off the table. So is the $10,000 from 100,000 to 90,000, that's our responsibility, the equal share of the extra one is that what I'm saying is that the balance? So only
Yes.
$10,000 came off of the one crosswalk that we took off.
Correct, because the grant amount didn't change, and again, I have to go back and revisit that whole conversation. It wasn't just like, well, if you don't do this one, then you could take off 20,000 or a larger portion of that, because a lot of the work is spread over the whole of the project, not really just for that one construction.
Okay.
Each one is calculated at a slightly different cost.
Because I don't think necessarily some of those other fees were, it was mentioned that there would be additional fees, but they weren't really laid out or presented at that time. We knew
Correct.
there would be overages,
Yes.
but, you know, I think for us, for that, to cap it at 90,000 is probably the safest thing to do for the board moving forward.
And we looked at, in budget preparation, we looked at what you all had approved over the last couple of years for that project, and that's why we kept it at that number, and we're really looking from a budget perspective of really being careful on how we do any type of cost share projects like this moving forward, just because we're dealing, our fund balance will be gone before we know it, if having huge capital expenditures like this.
So Zach,
I'll-
are you gonna make the motion?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to. I'll make a motion to approve the downtown Romeo crosswalk project as a cost share project with the Village of Romeo in an amount not to exceed $90,000 in furtherance from motion and approved on October 5th, 2020 for said project.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Roll call?
Stevens?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I wrote your thing. Parker?
Yes.
Poznanski?
No.
Hayes?
Yes.
Rose? Oh, wait, he's not here. Brandt?
Yes.
Malzahn?
Yes.
Kellogg?
Yes.
And Tar.
Can we ask right now why it's a no before I vote? Is there something that I'm missing I'd like to know? Is that, can you?
You could ask her, she doesn't have to tell you.
Or that I should know about, or?
I have voted no about this from the beginning.
Okay, yes.
Can I ask a question,
Actually, I
Kelly?
think it was an abstention, not a no vote, if I'm not mistaken on that.
She voted no.
Not according to the minutes, it says abstained.
What do we do, just as, before we move on, if this bid comes in, conversation at 400,000 instead of 300 and whatever the devil we think it is,
We're agreeing to do the 90,000.
and we're agreeing, okay. So at that point, do we have to revisit anybody if we have to make a decision to cut back further on the scale of the project?
Well, we're in good faith, saying that we're going to
No,
do
okay, I'm just,
90,000.
it's gonna be then up to the village to make a decision on that. Am I reading that properly?
Yeah, and in all honesty, Bill, if it's that much of an overage, and the village wanted to come back to us and request an additional 10,000, I mean, we could always vote on it again at that point if they're requesting additional funds to help with the project. If it's in that much of a hardship to just get it done, I guess that would always be an option as well.
Hopefully before the budget gets approved.
Yes.
They have to approve it,
Just
so.
everything that I'm hearing on construction cost is causing people to gasp. People who are professionals in that area, this caused them to gasp. So I'm just, okay, we'll just wait for the bid opening.
We won't know until that happens.
Right.
Did you vote, Greg?
Yes, I voted. She recorded it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Can I?
we're ready.
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Totally unrelated, we good with this?
Hmm?
I'm just thinking of our financial friends here. Do we need, do they need to stay?
Oh, yes.
Well, we haven't gotten to introducing the new hire.
It is under D, so
We're getting there, come on.
We're two away. We're two away, and then we can,
I don't have the appointment of the treasurer bylaw amendment page in my packet.
because you all approved it last month to
Okay.
get forwarded to the village.
So we're just making
council,
it-
and village council approved it.
Oh, so we're making it official, Greg is the,
That would be your move. Yes.
Strong caveat to that.
well, we're making it official, Greg has stepped up to be the DDA board treasurer.
Name only.
In name only, yes.
Make that motion to appoint. Do we need to do that?
Do we ne-
Is that what we're doing?
Are we making a motion to appoint him, or?
I thought last month,
We did
or
that
not
already.
last month, 2 months
Well,
ago, we
there
did.
was-
Pending.
Pending the
But
approval
what-
or revision of
The
the.
bylaws went before council, they were approved, so I guess it's a done deal.
Do we,
Do you normally vote on?
I
You
don't,
you do vote on them, right? I would,
But I thought we did already, pending the approval of the,
council,
which happened, so I would think it's all official now.
The
I'll make a
voting's
motion to
done, now is
ratify the
bylaws is?
yeah, with the bylaws being approved and the motion that passed 2 months ago.
so how about motion to ratify Greg Tar as the new DDA treasurer?
Yes, that too. Okay.
Okay.
do we need to go?
You need a second and all in favor?
Yes, so that is Melzan motion, yes?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Greg.
For revisiting bylaws, are we waiting for an opinion or a statement from Mr. Clark to change our bylaws so that we don't have abstentions on expenditures under $500 with local board members? Or we said we were gonna, that had to be, but I don't know that we finished the conversation.
It was just a work in progress, right? That's part of the work that's being done. And
Okay,
when
so
it's
it's-
done, then it will come back, yes.
Okay, and Mark is working on this, or somebody's working on this?
He's not working on it because the DDA has your own legal counsel, which would be McGraw and Morris. But Mark was happy just to answer a couple of clarification questions, and he did offer some suggestions. So I don't know what Elizabeth's direction will be as far as getting legal input, or if she'll just draft it and then bring it back for
So
discussion.
you're gonna draft another bylaw amendment
I'm gonna do it in my sleep
perusal
at
of-
3 a.m. this morning. I'll work
After-
on that.
So it'll be ready for our next meeting?
No.
No, it'll be
No.
ready.
You just had the village council amend bylaws last month, so I would imagine you don't want to turn right back around and ask them to amend it again. So I would imagine you'd want to look at several policies and do them at the same time, with some of the other revisions of ones that are, go back to 2008, and maybe earlier, and do them at the same time and give staff time to work through some of these in addition to the workload you
You're
already
saying that
have.
there's other things out there that need to be addressed that we just haven't,
Yes, that's correct.
all right.
Okay. On to the accountant bookkeeper.
Yes, so, Michelle. And I can never pronounce her last name, so I'm going to let her introduce herself. But just to say, it's been an absolute pleasure working with Carla. I've known her for years, of course, through the Romeo District Library and her work there. And it's amazing to me how when one event happens and how one thing leads to the next. And she saw our ad about Winterfest, came to the event. One of the other people that applied, remember I told you that someone had applied who didn't have an accounting background, happened to talk to her about it at the volunteer headquarters. And she's like, well, I have an accounting degree. And so, so Michelle, welcome. If you'd like to introduce yourself and help us pronounce your last name correctly.
Michelle Gilbo, so it's French, but I've just been doing accounting for 30 plus years and mostly manufacturing, automotive. I do some little side jobs here and there, and this just kind of interested me, so I thought I'd take it on, so.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell them what the project you're about to start in Romeo and one of the reasons
Well,
why?
in the interview, I said, what? Where are you building
Yeah, we're
this?
building a house on the corner of Benjamin and First. The house burned down there,
Mhm.
you know, so.
I knew you looked familiar, and I didn't put two and two together until just now, so good, yes.
And Michelle was also the one who organized all of the marshmallow stuff. And so before I even knew she was applying for, for this position, I said, do you like to be in charge of things? And, yes. And within 12 hours, she had it all done, had receipts submitted. She's like, is this okay? I'm like, perfect. So her husband volunteered that whole day too. And so really excited. And Carla is just working great with her and, doing some of the turnover. So the fact without the governmental accounting, Carla encouraged her and myself and Kelly that, because we're not dealing with the same governmental accounting as the village in the complexity of it, it's something that, and especially with her background, it's not going to be a problem moving forward. So.
And again, to Carla's credit, getting us set up so that somebody could walk into this.
I saw the work she did.
Well,
Are you
welcome,
from
Michelle.
Romeo?
Thank you.
Are you from Romeo originally, or?
No, Macomb,
Okay.
but we've always kind of wanted to move out here, and we've been looking at old homes, and we're like, oh, we're getting older, do we want to take on an old home?
Yeah.
And so when land came up, we're like, that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to build it to look old,
Sure.
farmhousey like, so.
And all of us who own old homes in Romeo will appreciate the fact that you're doing that. One of the things that I appreciate about Michelle from the get-go, you know how I handed these all out to you guys a couple months ago? She's already gone through some of these webinars. I think she probably might have all of us beat on some of this, and she finds this all
skipped
fascinating. You skipped a
But
couple?
I haven't gonna watch it yet.
So yeah, so her enthusiasm towards learning all things DDA, TIF related, and so forth is a godsend. So.
And we did training between the budget meeting in here, and everything that we talked about, we were in alignment on approach to things, so I think you guys are going to be extremely happy.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
if you don't want to stay any longer, you don't have to. Thank you, Greg, for mentioning
Yep.
that.
Okay, on to new business. Possible board meeting date changes. What we've come to
Oh,
realize.
hold on a second. Can you stay for this, just for a second? Because this was her,
I
right,
know,
so I
I know.
apologize for interrupting you.
What we've come to realize, if we look at our schedule of dates, a lot of our dates fall within the first 5 days of, our meeting dates fall within the first 5 days of the month, which makes it very difficult to reconcile your books when it's short. We were talking about possibly moving it to the second Monday of the month.
I may have a conflict with that for a little while. I'm on another board. confirm a couple things with that schedule, but, I'm one person, so, certainly the third, maybe
The
other-
third
something
is
other
a
than a
council
Monday.
meeting.
If there's a Tuesday available, I don't know if there's a rule that says we gotta meet on Mondays instead of Tuesdays or something.
No,
There
we
is
just,
not.
we did it a few years ago, to align with the village. We used to be Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And we used to do, was it 6 or 6:30? Do you remember, Zach?
I thought it was later, 7:30.
Was it 7:30?
Yeah,
Before?
was
I
our
don't
start
remember.
time.
Okay, so
Um,
it was moved to a
Well,
Monday.
I also would be open to changing the start time to earlier.
Earlier?
Yeah.
I can do any time after 6, but
Would it work to move it to a Tuesday?
It would for me.
No, I have
When
a-
it started, we were at 6 or 5.
Well, how about a Wednesday,
I
if you
know
went
that
back
for
to
a
the
fact.
second Wednesday of the month?
That conflicts with the
Library?
RDL.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mondays
Okay.
are the best for me.
Well, Greg, how long is your commitment to this other board?
I have to verify and clarify some of that, so with that, I'll say that, I can we're already into, April will be the next one, so let me,
Are you on
May
the
would be-
second and the fourth, or do you have one meeting a month, like?
no, it's
because
a one meeting a month
So,
deal.
because there is the fourth Monday of the month,
Yeah.
if the second doesn't work.
From a financial standpoint, where,
Well, I thought, wouldn't you want it done before your meeting so that it can be approved at your meeting or part of it?
For,
The DDAs.
Really only the
Only once a
budget.
year.
It's only the budget.
We really very rarely vote on, and so as long as you just accommodate that in what the month of the budget, which is May or June, the rest of the time, aside from reviewing possible minutes, which usually aren't in our packets anyway, I don't know that it would matter.
the major conflicts in that schedule from a financial standpoint is May 2nd, August 1st, October 3rd, and probably December 5th? Because are the 7th and the 11th and the 6th okay for the most part?
Well, it really depends on the submission date, right?
Mhm. So no decision has to be made tonight, it makes it a little bit more difficult
Well,
for
May's
financials.
meeting is scheduled for the second. You won't have good financials.
You're
then.
right.
So I think a decision does need to be made.
Right, if it's a May 2nd meeting, the books I give her the board packet by Wednesday or Thursday, so it would have to be closed on the 27th of April.
Which we just closed the books early for this month's meeting also.
Can we just
Right.
change the May and June meetings and then go back?
Well, you got third on October.
Well,
You got the first on August.
Well, right, but I'm just saying if it's more of a, or is this gonna be a continuing issue month in and month out?
Right, because the calendar,
Like I said, since we do the financials as a year-to-date, so say you close it on April 27th, then any activity that's from the 28th, 29th, and 30th would just kind of catch up into the May totals.
Mhm.
What difference does that make?
Hmm?
What difference does that make?
Well, that's what I was gonna say, unless something of significance is happening in those days, it
Doesn't-
doesn't make a huge difference. And if there is something of significance that's known, you can do an accrual or something for it.
Right.
So, if it sounds like it is causing a lot of problems to change the dates, obviously it's not ideal, but when you go to do next calendar years, you probably
maybe just look at that.
should change
yeah.
it, but, unless you feel like there's a big issue with closing the books early.
As long as we do it the way you're showing me the dates, and just, like you said, if there's something major, we could mention it, and otherwise, if it's just a few dollars here and there, we just update the budget for the next month.
Right.
So do you want to keep the calendar as it is? Do you want to change it to 6 o'clock
Yeah,
for the
I
rest
would-
of the year?
I
To
would
make
like
it a
an
little bit
input
earlier?
on the
or-
time. I wouldn't mind changing it till 6.
I appreciate leaving it the date when it is, the way it works, and moving up to 6 is great with me, so.
To work with you.
I'm trying to think. I think 6 would be okay.
said 6 o'clock is fine by me.
6 is fine.
Bill?
No problem.
Works for me.
Totally works for me too.
Okay, so
Nice.
do we need a motion to change?
Yes, you would need to, based on how you've adopted your calendar, and then I'll
Okay, so we're
correct
gonna
that
keep
with
our
Parks and Rec.
calendar dates for 2022 as posted, but I'm making a motion that the meeting starting time will, going forth, starting with May, start at 6 PM.
Support.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
John,
Can you make sure that gets updated, John?
so that he
What
gets
it says here.
Will that mess
6
him up
o'clock.
for work?
Oh, did that mess you up, John?
No.
Oh, okay. I should have asked you too, right?
He doesn't mind getting up an hour earlier either.
No, they're open later, 7 anyway, so.
he's open till 9.
And I'll get that corrected with Parks and Rec as well.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
all right. Thanks, you guys.
B, alleyway temporary enhancement, temporary closure. Elizabeth, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So, there is someone I'd like to introduce. Alex, you want to come up and explain this? Your picture? Sure. You can come up to the podium if you'd like to. You all have this in here. I'd like to introduce you to is it Jankowski? Yes. Oh, I said it right? Yes. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. So just a quick little background. Alex reached out to me the day that I was heading out of town, so 2 weeks ago Wednesday, she called and said, I was at the village council meeting, and are you in charge of the street signs? And I said, I'm not, but what do you got? And so she started talking about that, and then we got to talking some, and one thing led to another, and so why don't you introduce yourself?
Can I use that
Yeah,
as,
absolutely.
a presentation? Okay, so I talked to Elizabeth a few weeks ago, and I'm all for renovating, alleyways in Romeo. I think there could be a little facelift in some areas, but we just discussed specifically for the alleyway behind Michigan Junk Teaks, and we discussed, just seating, maybe outdoor planting of herbs or flowers, perhaps a mural if the owner of the building, Buscemi's, right? That's the building
It
that-
wouldn't actually go back that far. It would just be.
Oh, it wouldn't go that- okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We didn't clarify that part. It would just be along her building.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Wait, you said behind, so I'm confused.
yeah, the alleyway from, where are the streets?
Not
at?
behind.
It's actually
Alongside.
just alongside. So the map that you have, it's marked with a highlighter,
Gotcha.
just right there. Yeah. So, sorry, Alex.
No, I don't know all the street names or if there's a name for the alley, but just maybe outdoor seating, lights, something simple that's seasonal, but also for people, dog walkers, people going to the coffee shop, could congregate during the day.
Alex, are you talking about all the alleys or specifically that one?
Well, specifically for the alleyway behind the two shops off Main
You mean
Street. on the-
Adjacent, right next to
Adjacent,
it,
sorry,
yeah.
adjacent, I'm thinking behind, adjacent, on the east side, northeast side.
It would be.
But then I was
Would it be-
thinking, if they're just.
South side?
South side.
Okay.
Sorry,
South side.
yeah, I don't.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, so initially we were talking about that alleyway, but then I was thinking, well, there's alleyways pretty much everywhere not everywhere in Romeo, but specific areas in Romeo, and they're worse for wear. I'm a big dog walker, and I thought, well, if we could start here, and then if other businesses would want to get involved and have other seasonal seating, that could be an option, but just a thought.
When we say temporary closure, how long is temporary?
Yeah, so what I was thinking on that, and then I'll probably have Kathy hop up there too, since it's her building. Talking about doing it, it would be nice to have it approved by April 29th, when the tree board is doing the Arbor Day celebration event. And so if we can get it approved by then, we have the blue form to submit for the village board to approve it. Then I'm thinking through, probably through Halloween, because then it can be used.
A lot of people come into Romeo.
Absolutely.
Between not just the summer months, but then during October specifically, I feel like Romeo it becomes Disneyland. So really to establish outdoor seating areas would be a great idea. Because of course there's the park, but the alleyways I feel like to turn it into a placemaking area.
And one of her ideas was, you know how at the high school, the seniors get to paint their parking spots? She had brought up an idea of painting area rugs on that space, on that tar. So when we say a temporary closure, just meaning, we don't, because we're not going to be in a position, I don't think, to have it be a permanent closure after that date. We're not talking about a permanent solution at this point, but one of the wonderful things that happened with downtowns based on the whole COVID pandemic is downtowns were forced to pivot quickly. How do we do things differently? And what they've found, and what other areas, DDAs and downtowns have found, is that they can really make some quick decisions, and it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out, well, let's think about this, and 2 or 3 years later, we're still thinking about it, where we can get picnic benches, we can get, work with some other, she's got some great ties with some various members in the community where things can be built. We have money in our budget for downtown improvements that could be used for that this fiscal year. We can put lights up. And to Kathy, did you want to speak, since it's your building and you'd be doing some of the things on the side?
I'm good. I mean, if anybody has questions.
Okay.
Elizabeth, I think the idea and the concept is great, but the location concerns me a little bit because of the way that alley is usually accessed for the businesses like Bushimi's that are right there. Has anybody talked to them? Because I spoke with the gentleman there who does the pizzas, Dave, who does all the pizzas, and I mentioned it. I said, has anybody talked to you about this concept? And his immediate reaction was, it's going to kill our business.
They have 4 other points of entry.
Yeah,
No,
but
they
here's a
don't.
question, or a thought.
Sure.
If you try and turn in at rush hour or during the busy times of day to go to Marty's, to go to the Four Corners Diner, or into that, there's so much traffic that it's nearly impossible to pull there. So most people go past and use that alley to get through, to get into Buscemi's or Marty's, because it's much easier. Like, it's much easier to cross the street at John's than it is at the Four Corners, because it's always so busy. So I think this is a great idea for the other 3 alleys or 4 alleys that we have. But closing that actual road seems.
That is, and I have had conversations with Roy, in that is the major, as Kathy will tell you, I used to own the building and did for 20 some odd years. You will kill those businesses. That is the main access for the back portion of that block. That's how people get in there. What Carl is saying, I would suggest tomorrow you try to turn north off of St. Clair Street while you're headed east. You can't do it. So people turn at the light and then make a right-hand turn through that alley to get into those businesses. Now, it's a great idea, but that particular, you could block the alley between Kelly's building and Buscemi's, and the only people who would care are the trash people who can't maneuver their trucks. You simply cannot, as Carl said, you cannot get into that block without coming into off that alley.
Is there perhaps, and this probably,
I can't imagine without directly contacting the other 5 or 6 businesses involved back there, that we have any business at all suggesting that there's and there are, 6 businesses back there? There's Marty's, there's the Thai place, MTV, there's a construction company.
It would be just the 3, because the other businesses, the building business, they're not even open.
Well, you
And Mid-TV, so it'd be those 3, which are all restaurants. Those would be the ones that would be impacted. Parking for me would be impacted as well.
it would screw up your
But-
parking horribly.
But I also look at the safety factor of it with the parking. And as you know, you own that building for a long time, those people will go through there fast and that turnaround.
Well, it's in such wretched shape, they shouldn't go too fast.
They do. I'm just saying, in that we have, if you don't want to close it off for these parks, which I'm all in favor of, which it would hurt me and the parking part of it, but they would find the other ways around it. But I just feel like safety, and then one day, I'm just always afraid, the way that they hit that, they have these big trucks that go through there. So let's stop the trucks from going through there.
There's a number of issues, as you can tell, related to that, like even who would want to sit, stand, or be in that alley. It's next to gasoline pumps. It's not really a great place
Is there-
for much outdoor activity.
Is there some of this opportunity, isn't there in Marty's parking lot there a bit of a step-up long greenbelt curb that could be picnic tabled and chaired and different things along there?
Well, the village owns that, and they could that would be a village decision to go ahead and shut
The
down
village
some
owns
parking.
the alleyway too.
You can't actually shut down an alley without getting both parties' approval, meaning Kathy's and the people who own the gas station. Then you get into concepts called inverse condemnation, which sounds really obscure, and it is really obscure, but it means if you take an action that accidentally grabs someone else's property rights, such as the Buscemi's people or whoever rents JL's, and somebody will. I mean, it's for sale, and sooner or later someone will put some type of food business in there, I suspect. If you grab out their ability to run their business, then you've accidentally condemned the property and you get into a whole bunch of ugly legal things. I just can't imagine proceeding on this without a direct contact with the Buscemi people and the other two restaurants, and the other people involved may not even care.
Well, I did stop and talk to Buscemi's too. I don't know exactly, we stopped in at different times. And I asked him if he had heard about it. He said no, so I explained it to him, and he said, yeah, no, that wouldn't be good for the business. And then after he thought about it for a minute, he said, I will PG-13, and he said, yeah, you tell him heck no. So
That's not quite what he used with me.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's in the same genre.
yeah.
But I just have one more comment about it, that I think a lot of businesses are, well, not a lot, but a business is moving north. I know the Rustic Bluebird, they're opening up their new eat-in, take-out business.
Great.
And I think, with my experience, I've only lived here 3 years in the village, but, for special events like, let's say, Tilson, you have a lot of congregation in the south side of Romeo, at least parking. I think if we establish seating, temporary, seasonal seating in that quadrant,
Yeah, I think
and bring
using
it further
the
north.
other alleys that we
I think
currently
it's
have, that
great
would be
for
great.
the overall development of Romeo, and, you have Bluebird, which is, they're thriving, and they're gonna continue to thrive. If you bring parking up that, northeast side, I think it's only going to benefit not only this specific, junk antiques, but it's going to benefit the surrounding businesses. It's going to bring people moving in that direction.
I agree. I think that some sort of project like this would be more than welcomed in this
In bringing
community,
up,
and I think we would support it. When we're talking about this specific alley, I would hate to negatively impact an existing
Right.
business
Me too, yeah.
to accomplish this.
Well,
So
we're
I,
supposed to be helping promote business.
yeah, I think we can definitely continue the conversation and talk about this in other areas, but
But
not specifically here.
Well, we have other alleys that need work, right?
Definitely. You look at Dickinson, I don't know if that's an alley, or since it has a street name, what that is. Is Dickinson an alley right off Main Street?
No,
Dickinson's a street.
That's
It's a
an
street.
actual street, but
There's an
that.
alley between.
But that's where the Bluebird is opening, and I just feel like you walk down Dickinson or Drive, the asphalt is.
Well,
yeah.
what about the alley by John's Coffee Shop? Is there
Start by
not?
there?
It's already closed.
I know, but lighting and new plantings
Yeah.
and all that,
And
and then
you
the
could do
same
the same
thing
thing
down
in
by
Parker Alley,
Parker
yeah.
Alley.
Those would both be great locations.
Can I make a suggestion? Just a thought.
Mhm.
I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. So, if those businesses were contacted to say, would you be willing to let us do a pilot program to test the waters to see if it would be a possibility, just to test it, right? We're not talking about permanent closure, permanent structures. As you know, over 10 years ago, there were plans drawn up for this. You guys supported that at some point, or the previous boards did. There were blueprints done through the schools, all that. At some point, it didn't go through. It's in your master plan to do this. It's in the village master plan to do this. So me taking a look at all this, having people from the community come out, that's why this has been brought to you, because it's in all these plans to move this forward. If it's something that's a temporary thing, if there's agreement, it still has to go before village council for approval, right? So that would just be my suggestion. I think, there's a huge need for it, and then on that, in that quadrant, and it's a messy space. But ultimately, it's your decision, because you're the board.
Elizabeth, are you aware that the dumpsters have all now been put right behind the standard station, or what is it, Shell, AP? It changes its name every 6 months. What do we got over there? Somebody know?
I don't
BP, Amoco, or B? All the dumpsters are now sitting right on the corner of what you're talking about.
It
All
wouldn't
the
go back. It
garbage
wouldn't
for
go
the
back
whole
that
block.
far. It would only go back the length of the building, her
The
building.
whole garbage system for that block is now sitting at the corner of what you're proposing.
No, it's not. It's in the middle of that parking lot. She's only proposed.
No, I'm talking about the dumpster that was on,
It's sitting behind the gas station.
behind the gas station,
Away
which,
from her property. It's not even near her property.
they're all right there, right behind the
The temporary closure that she's referring to is only,
Yeah.
only
Elizabeth,
my junk teak.
while they
It's
talk
not,
about
it's not the
dumpsters,
BP building. So it's
perhaps-
not the whole entire alley.
Perhaps you
It's
can
just the
huddle
front
up
half of it.
and come up with some other locations and
Okay,
ideas. I mean,
but you're,
there's
yes, the
that
dumpster is there, but the
beltway
dumpster
in the
is
parking lot.
They've all
30 or
been
40
elevated.
feet.
they've all,
Yeah.
and you want people to actually
That was
sit there
actually the
smelling
guy
that
from
crap.
Shimmy's, that was. he
And Kelly
suggested
has,
that,
and
like,
she
put-
complained
Okay.
that you got
Put
so
'em down
pissed at
there.
me
Put 'em
because you
down
were
the
having your
island.
kids'
I mean,
wedding there,
just
and I had another
another-
extra
Okay,
pickup.
let's round this. How about, Elizabeth, you go talk to those businesses personally and see their response back on a closure.
I can do that, and then would I, if that is looked upon favorably, would it be okay to submit the permit?
As long as you
To
have
the
correspondence through our email system, everybody needs to read their emails, then yeah.
And I would have something written from those businesses, not just
Right,
verbal.
something in writing that you have spoken to them, yeah.
Why don't you
I
get
think
a
they may
statement
see it as
from
an opportunity since they don't, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you, Bill. Since they don't have outside dining, right, to give their patrons an opportunity to get their slice of pizza, to get their Thai food, because they've just sort of closed down that restaurant portion, to give them a place to sit. The taco truck comes back, right? Now we've got more places for people to sit, to enjoy their food that they purchase from those local businesses. So while they may see a slow in some traffic, I do believe that people will find another traffic pattern to get there. And I don't think it would kill their businesses.
So
Who
I'm
plans
asking
to
you
get it
that,
in writing?
I'm asking you that you make contact with
Christine.
those businesses
She was
and you
interested in
communicate
That's a good question.
That's what
to
she's
us
saying,
via
right?
email.
No, from them.
Who cleans and maintains this?
From the
I'm all for it, but
businesses.
who's gonna
That's what she's
be
saying. She would get
change out
the
these garbage cans,
Elizabeth.
doing some cleanup, wiping down these tables and benches
They
and
need
stuff? I'm
to
just
take it out too.
curious. Is there a thought about that?
You know,
Who's gonna-
Greg, I have you signed up as the first person doing that.
But I can't. Mondays don't
I'm
work.
just teasing.
You're going to get a written statement. from
You know what?
some-
Here's the thing. We have
Who's this one
so
that's
many
behind
people
Kelly's?
who are excited about the changes that we're doing in downtown. I'm not worried about that. And we have line items in our budget that we can take care of some of that.
Okay, so I have asked you to go and get this written from these business owners, and then if it's a go, you communicate with us and so that it can be brought to the next council meeting.
Okay.
Are we gonna do anything for our current alleys? 'Cause I think
I'm
that's
so
a
glad
good
you
idea.
asked that, Megan, because yes, we have, that was in my director's report, that our current contractor down, through the with the downtown beautification, so Ray from Vans Valley, the soil needs to be amended desperately in both of those spaces. And she's taking care of her plantings all along the side of her building. That we're not paying for that. That's not part of that. But we have people in the community, volunteers who want to do gardening stuff that are happy to put some of these things in there. So in regards to your question, Megan, we can get the soil amended in there
But it
and get
sounds
some
like
things
maybe
taken care of.
Like maybe continuing the plantings isn't what with the suggestion, we need the room for seating, you would kind of get away from more, because that's where the tables would kind of go along the sides there.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You asked about the other alleyways. So I was answering your question in reference to cleaning up of the other alleyways. How is that going to get taken care of? I thought that's what your question was.
She's not looking to put seating in those alleyways, I don't believe.
How can we incorporate this? That's what.
We're talking about the one alleyway, the one that we're referring to
Well,
in the
she's
northeast
asking,
quadrant.
is it possible to include seating in these other alleyways?
Yeah, because that's kind of what you were saying in the presentation, like especially the southern ones closer to Tilson, if we could help clean those up and get seating and things down there, that's what I'm saying. What else could we do from this idea in the current alleys that we have?
There's a lot of potential for that. The one that's next to, I'm not sure why there's feedback, sorry. The one that's next to Yurikobi Sushi, there's quite a grade on that one, and there's some different things in those beds that need to be addressed. There's a planter at the end of it that just has this huge amount of dirt just sitting in it where there's been washout. So those things need to be looked at and addressed. With that kind of a grade, I'm not sure how you would put benches or seating or whatnot in there. I'm prepared with time and resources to take care of building an out one alleyway this summer. I don't have the resources to do
Well,
all
we
of them.
also are talking about redoing the dirt in those other ones.
Yes, and
plantings.
improving the beds and getting volunteers to help take care of some of that stuff. In addition, I need to clarify some things with Christine as far as what the gentleman that the village hires, as far as what,
Well,
what
if that's
his.
the direction we're gonna go, then there's really no room for seating down either of those alleys. I mean, with the flower beds on both sides, you really just have the runway down the middle.
With the new space?
No, the
No,
current
the two
alleys
is
that we
just
have.
Starkweather, Peyton Way, or whatever they call it, and, right?
Peyton Way has a picnic table, there's a metal
what's
picnic
it
table
called?
there, and then there's a couple
Parker
other.
Alley.
Okay, so we have said Elizabeth's gonna go talk to those businesses in this alley and report back to us via email.
And if appropriate, complete the permit in time
Yes.
for village council. Okay.
Okay, 2022 calendar of events. The last page in your packet.
With really small writing, so sorry about the typeset on that. So this is the, thank you for that last one, by the way. This is our, just kind of like a tentative calendar. What I appreciate about what we're doing with the budget moving forward, going to a category budget, is it's going to allow us to, move funds around depending on what event needs more money or less and whatnot. So as you know, obviously Winterfest just happened. Arbor Day that's being done by the village tree board, and I'm aware that I think Megan, I just found out you guys donated a tree, which is awesome, and I believe they're up to 7 already. So there's going to be an event at the village park. It's going to start at, I'm telling you about this one in a little bit more detail because we have them. 3 o'clock. There's a huge event that's happening at Amanda Moore. Then it's moving at 4 o'clock, and we are probably going to get Mark Hackle as a speaker for that event in the Village Park at 4 o'clock, and then it'll move a little bit to Starkweather and then also Kezar. Madison's already working on some events with our Serve kids from the high school and the National Honor Society on creating some kids events for that. There's music already. Someone's already donated the time for that. So that's kind of already turned into an event. And if we're able to get this alley closure, that'd be a great introduction. At least I don't know if it'll happen in time for that, but we're talking with the Masonic Lodge, I should say the tree board, and we're talking with the Masonic Lodge about possibly being a rain location. Last year it wasn't a great event weather-wise. So are there any questions about that one?
Well, I see you have on here, Megan wants to bring back Chalk the Walk again this year, so there's a note here, do we start it that night, kick it off, or wait till the next day?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Megan, what are your thoughts on that?
I always did it the weekends in May, so I would put the chalk out Friday day, evening, and it would be out all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then I'd pick it up Sunday evening.
Would you want to start a week early so it could be part of the Arbor Day event on that Friday, the 29th? Because there's going to be a lot of kids downtown, like a lot of kids downtown
Maybe
that
we could
day.
put chalk out.
I think it'd be a good kickoff,
Mhm.
just to tie it in.
Do we have to get supplies, or we have enough?
No, we have a few things. We have 2 boxes.
You know, 2.5 cases.
But my thought was, being the second year, I would hope that more business saw it and would get more participation. A couple businesses just saw it and put out their own boxes of chalk. That was nice. So I wanted to grab even more boxes than we did last year. Obviously, prices had gone up a bit. I don't know if you ever.
They're not, yeah, they're not too much more. It's like 50 cents for the case. It's not too bad. And we always do it at our costs. So if the businesses want to come and get it from us, as long as they pay what we pay for it, I don't care.
And we can put that communication out now that we have everybody's email addresses for the businesses to promote that. But that would be a great way to tie that in.
I also have, Stephanie is on board again. She doesn't have as much time to donate to do a mural this year, but she does have a few hours. I don't remember the weekend that she said. And also, the high school art teacher, she said it was a great idea. We were thinking maybe if we could get some of the actual high school students to help Stephanie, then she could do the same size, or just as, not as small, but maybe a medium-sized mural on the sidewalk chalk, utilizing the high school students if they could help. She does requested more chalk this year. She ran out quite early. Doing a water scheme, Oliver Blue was gone instantly. So her chalk is quite a bit more expensive. So we're looking more to $100 and $150 just for her chalk to do that. And then a few times we did balloons. I would put balloons on each of the chalks along the building, so it kind of drew everybody's eyes. That's not a very high budget thing. I walk around with the wagon, put out the chalk, pick it up.
Okay. So I think some of you have skimmed through this list. In order for saving time tonight, since the Arbor Day thing is coming up very quickly, and then I think Kathy's doing her spring fling on the 30th, why don't we just address what's happening in this month right now, just because it's getting late?
Sure. I guess what we're doing is, because of if I may take just a few minutes to just, this is an overview of events that we can, it doesn't mean we're going to do every single event like as this big, huge thing like what Winterfest was, right? But this is something that as we're building the website, we punch these things in there. I mean, garage sales and, music in the park, the Parks and Rec, they're already doing, I think, one Sunday a month. It'd be nice, we can utilize our intern and utilize the different talent that is around here and create an event every Sunday in the park. That's something that's pretty easy to do. So a lot of these are obviously pretty self-explanatory. So I guess this is just, a calendar of events. I don't know if you guys need to approve it or just to say, just for you to see, some of these events aren't even ours, right?
Right.
But it's just showing.
So it's showing you what's going on.
What's going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And doesn't Starkweather move their last Friday of the month outside in the summertime? Don't they put that back there in the park?
They have the open mic night,
Yeah.
weather permitting, they'll move it out. If they have a drum circle, right, they'll put it in the village park, and they coordinate that with Catherine, who administratively sort of handles the scheduling in the park.
And
But yes,
I
they
did
do
reach
have
out.
it outside.
I did reach out to Grace. We are moving our Night Under the Stars, which is typically the first Friday in August. It's the last Friday in June, which coincides with Mike Night, so might be hopping down there. Red
Oh,
Quad.
yeah, that's
Are we
awesome.
still doing the Jeep?
They haven't come to us.
What, Jeep night?
Jeep night?
Do
I
you
mean,
suppose that
they
think
did
it's
a
just
funding
continuing?
request last year. It wasn't anything that we really
Right.
helped, but I don't see that on here.
I
Or-
haven't
I don't know.
Continual thing that we just
They might
did
not,
last
yeah.
year, not-
Is
Have
bike,
you heard about it?
Well, Nikki set it up last year. So
No, not at all.
We'll work together.
that was more,
Is Bike Night being picked up
Nicole's
by the
thing.
new owners?
Glenn was more pushing
Oh,
the bike
Glenn
night
was
thing.
Caleb but there was somebody else who was doing the Jeep. I can't remember who that was.
It was the,
It was Jim Reels.
yeah, dealership.
Yeah, with Nicole, they did
But I
that.
think they only asked for last year dates.
Right.
They didn't ask
Mm-hmm.
like an indefinite, like, we expect bike night to be.
Right.
Well, I think this is a good starting point, because you're gonna be adding these to our calendar of events, so, I appreciate you putting that together.
So is this fine then?
Mhm.
Okay.
Are these the
Should-
sort of events that like the subcommittee is going to be working on going over, or are they going to be creating new ones to fit in?
The committee of volunteers, or, yes, correct.
Should we, because how much did we, I know we went over this earlier, but budget-wise, what I want to make sure that we don't do is with all these things that are happening in, June, July, August, that we don't forget about, Ladies' Night Out and Art and Wine Walk, and that we've
It's on-
expended our.
it's on
No,
here.
but I want to make sure that when we're,
How
because
much is a case of
all this is potential for funding requests that are going to come to our board, and we've only
I'm
budgeted
not
so
coming
much
to you
for it.
for Night Under the Stars.
I meant but Art and Wine Walk,
Well, that, yeah.
yeah. So, we
Well, for
just
the
have
next-
to make sure we're budgeted properly with all the events if we want to.
So for the next fiscal year, from the budget workshop today, there's $22,200 under CBD events. And then, of course, that's just the lump sum, right? Because it's broken down for internal purposes on the pink sheets. And then if you look at the current budget, under your CBD events right now, you still have, we still have 66% of those funds available until June 30th. Specifically, 24% is left under specifically CBD events, 100% is left for Mayfest, 100% for Saturdays in October. Advertising and promotion still has 100% of funding still in there. So you're looking at the proposed for next year. I was
Right.
referring, okay, I was just referring to what's left in the current.
Oh.
So for the next couple events before
Right.
the end of the fiscal year.
Could I ask that I get some sort of not to exceed number for the Chalk the Walk to start buying cases and advertising, really, balloons? And then prizes. I'm not gonna do prizes every week like we did last year. It was just too much. So I don't know if we'll just do cumulative or just do it twice. Maybe do a prize at the beginning with the kickoff that weekend. Also, if we're adding a weekend, I need a little bit more.
What,
I don't know, $700, not to exceed 700. I don't think I'll hit that, but
how much did you spend last year?
I think we did not to exceed 500, and I don't think we even hit that.
So you want a motion to authorize an expenditure of $700 for Chalk the Walk?
Yes, that would.
And you'll just, okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, Elizabeth.
Okay, motion to approve expenditures for Chalk the Walk, no, not to exceed 700, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Motion by Parker, second by Hayes.
Yeah, I got that on there. Okay, Haznetsky,
Yes.
Rose, Brant,
I think I had to abstain because you're getting it from me.
okay, Parker,
Yes?
Hayes,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
and Stevens.
Yes.
So I guess my question, I guess I need to get some clarity here. Since monies will be spent for Arbor Day and we're moving towards a category budget, how does this work with each event? Since money's already allocated for CBD events, and as long as I'm spending within that, do I have to come to you every time I want to spend money for an event and
You just
ask?
have to follow the purchasing policy.
I guess what I'm hearing is,
We have money in that category. If she stays within the budgeted amount, does she have to come back and ask us every single time? Is what
I
she
think-
says.
Purchasing policy, she sure does.
I think we should be giving some, let's not exceed, say $1,000 for this event, or 500, whatever it is. I'm not comfortable to say, no, it's her it's her baby, and she can spend out of that budget what she wants. I think your question, Elizabeth, is, do you have to come back to get an authorization?
Well, we should
to-
give her a leeway, which you just stated up to $1,000.
Well, didn't we just form an event subcommittee?
Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, so that's happening during the formation, if those meetings are taking place, and we've got board representation in those event subcommittees, then it would eventually come to the board. We'd see that in, when we have to approve the financials, right? No?
You would, you'd
So
have to
so
approve it in
yeah,
the
I mean,
financials, right?
that's, I think that solves that problem. I mean, obviously, if you're spending $2,000 on one specific vendor, that can't just be purchased because that doesn't follow the purchasing policy. But if we have a subcommittee who's working on events specifically representing this board, then that's the decisions you guys are making, and then we approve it when it comes time to pay the bills.
Again, I think it goes against your purchasing policy, and you're better off just to talk about this at your monthly meetings and approve whatever that recommended bullet, is.
Yeah,
Once a month, you're looking at the next month's projects, right, or events, and then you're approving a not to exceed based on the progress.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that way then we're all informed. It wouldn't be like, just because the money's there, I didn't just get to go do this chalk the walk and spend this money without you all knowing. I think you would want to know about it.
Well, it's coming to
say
us
that
every
you even
month,
want to
right?
do it.
Yeah, it's no big
Right.
deal every month to just tell us how much you want to spend on events.
I think you guys are saying the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
what
I'm
I'm
saying, is
hearing.
you would
We're
want.
saying the
We're all
same
saying the same
I think
thing.
we're
would
saying the
want
same
that
thing.
from me, so-
Okay, so then I guess then I need to request an amount for Arbor Day because it's only a couple weeks away. So it can't wait till next month. So
Okay.
I guess I'd like to an amount not to exceed 2,000 on that is what I'm requesting.
I'll make a motion that we approve a budget not to exceed $2,000 for Elizabeth for Arbor Days.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, let me just
Roll call?
give me 1 second.
Just real quick, what are we spending the 2,000 on? Just, is it advertising and?
Sure. So we're doing music. It won't go to that amount because we've got vendors, or we have some people that are interested in sponsoring too already for that. So yeah, it would be mainly for that. There's we are giving businesses, restaurants and shops such as yours and Zach's first rights to have tables in the park for selling things. So this isn't a free event. I think it's really important to support the downtown businesses, to help them actually support their businesses by encouraging people to spend money with them. And so so for example, of the 7-9 establishments that sell food, if none of them said, no, we don't want to sell food in there, I would like to open it up to, bring in a truck or something. I don't know if I can do that. I have to ask the village president or somebody tomorrow, but so that's what it would be for. Supplies, some of the craft events, things like that.
Okay.
Okay, so motion by Tar, second by Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose is absent. Hayes,
Yes.
Osnansky,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
and Parker.
Yes.
We might, just as a quick side note, some of these events that are over the summer, especially the Night Under the Stars, make sure that we're coordinating our pedestrian crosswalk construction,
Yeah.
right, with the same time. I mean, I know that we're gonna try and coordinate that. Now that I'm seeing this as your calendar, right, I don't know what quadrant they're gonna be working on the last week of June, but hopefully it's not
In front of my
Newberry.
building.
Right, so, yeah, Elizabeth and I will just continue to coordinate that as best possible. And keep you updated, right, yes.
The reason we changed it is, the chamber held like 8 events within 6 weeks from that August 1st through Halloween, so that's why we went with that. Okay, we added employment committee job review. I want to start off by saying, today's Elizabeth's 6-month anniversary.
Is it really?
Yes, and a job well done.
Wow. I didn't
You
realize-
have exceeded all of our expectations. patience.
Thank you.
You are doing a great job. I think we initially gave you some goals to hit, and pretty much you've hit them all. My counterparts want to say anything else?
No, I echo that. I think fantastic. Ton of energy, enthusiasm, fresh ideas, follow through, follow up, agitation. It's all good. Thank
Wait,
you.
I agitate you? Wait.
Yes. But that's okay. It's in a good way. So thank you.
I think she pushes us a little along.
Yep.
And
I
that's
think
what
it's
we needed.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Kelly, I would correct what you had to say when you said that she's met, and I think she's exceeded.
Okay.
That's all.
Do you wanna?
I was only gonna say, well, we started this process with the hiring committee that was myself, Zach, Kelly, and John Rose. Obviously, we're not looking to hire anybody new. We're hoping that we're not gonna have to hire anybody new for a significant time period. But what I think we do need to morph that into is an employment committee and performance review, somebody that's going to conduct an annual review. And I think best practices, just like you're rectifying the books and the accounting procedures, right? We didn't really have much of a personnel manual, and I think that we're seeing a need for perhaps putting some definition to the employment. What's your vacation days? What's your PTO days, right? What's the paid holidays? I don't know that we really defined that in one document, and so what I'd like to work on with the not hiring committee, or renaming the hiring committee into an employment/review committee to move those things forward. So, if everybody's still willing to sort of.
No, so then are we gonna form that?
I think we need
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
But stick you to the point. You're doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. You made a big difference, and you continue to do that. And you got great follow-through. We do appreciate it.
So I think this committee is looking to benchmark your next 6 months, since you've already gotten all the first ones under your belt. So who wants to serve in that position? Elizabeth?
I think Elizabeth would be fantastic at it. She's demonstrated her skills in that area. I think Bill should be part of that with his,
You're wrong. We moved on from that.
I
I'm
think-
certainly willing to serve, and I, can certainly fill in what the village has been doing, on, our employment side and what documentation we have from our personnel. I think there's a lot of carryover there, so.
Zach, are you?
We still have John
No,
to
I think
consider.
somebody else can take a stab at it.
Pardon me?
I said we still have John to consider. He might want to still be up for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's, he messed up by missing the meeting.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
I
You
think
miss a meeting, you
I
get-
think
So
John's
he's not
here.
getting a chance to bow out, he's volunteering.
He's there. That's it. It's formed.
No, I refuse.
So who did, we have Elizabeth Kellogg, Christine, possibly John Rose,
And you.
and me? Okay,
That makes it forum, so yeah, you're good, yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Because you buy stuff for
Can I get a point of clarification on something? If
As a board, yes.
if the businesses agree or are in favor of this temporary closure of the alleyway, if the village council approves it, I sort of need some funding to move forward with doing some of that. So how?
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
You missed the fact that 3 members of this board have talked to the owner of Buscemi's, and they said over their dead body.
Well, there's other businesses in there.
I know, but if you're looking for,
We have taxed her with going to talk
Right.
to these businesses, so.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to the next council meeting, or the next meeting that you guys have,
Or-
that we have in May. Or through, well, but if there's funding, that can't be approved through email.
Call a special meeting.
Yeah, we can get
Okay.
together real fast.
All right, sounds good.
Christine?
So I'm gonna make a motion, that we're going to now convene an employment/personal review committee. Because we didn't vote on that, right?
I'll second it.
Miller Alley.
I'm sorry, who made those motions?
I made the motion.
I
Okay.
second it.
Okay.
The Kellogg Alley?
No, after this, Elizabeth.
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry. I
Thank
knew
you.
it.
All right, real quick, I know John Rose could not be here, but I'm gonna, he had some comments, under board member comments, I'm just gonna present what he had to say. he had under unfinished business, website development. Many thanks to Elizabeth and Sean at Think Street Media for their hard work on this. Friday seemed to show some great efforts being put in by Sean and his team to launch our new updated website, and many people have told me they are excited and anxious to see it. Then he had comments on new business, section B, which is the alley discussion. I have been told that during the last village trustee meeting, there was a request to close off an alley in the DDA and add lighting and plantings. I want to mention that before we take on the expense of a new space, it may make more sense to better utilize the current alleyways that are in desperate need of attention. These are the two that we talked about with the dirt and stuff that need to be revamped. And then as a last comment is his board member comment. He just wants just a general thank you to the entire board for everybody's input and interest in the DDA direction. Multiple subcommittees and idea sharing are already leading to meaningful results for 2022 and beyond. Residents and business owners have commented to me how they can see the progress being made in such a positive direction.
Yeah. There you go, Elizabeth. It's your 6-month anniversary.
Where's the present? Thank you, I appreciate that.
We're renaming that alley next to the gas station after you. That's our resolution.
Oh, all right, that works.
All right, can I get a
Miller's
motion to,
There are other board member comments.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth?
I've missed tip-off.
I know.
Move on.
I'm sorry, real fast. I really just wanted to thank this board for recognizing the importance of this pedestrian crosswalk project. It's really going to be a tremendous improvement in our downtown, not necessarily the crosswalks and the striping that's going across our asphalt, but the curb and gutter and the ADA compliance. That we recognize that there are people in our community or people that come to visit us that have mobility issues. And this is a much needed, that's the biggest cost involved with that project, is bringing those assets into play, not just the crosswalk themselves. And I appreciate that this board is supporting that project and investing the money back to the taxpayers and people that come to our town. The residents don't pay the DDA tax, the businesses pay the DDA tax. So while they don't necessarily live here, they certainly do contribute to the biggest cost share in this project. So I thank you for that.
Bill, before you leave, everybody, I had asked that you.
I have this.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder to fill out your forms, okay? We just leave them in. All right, Zach, do you have anything?
Nope, I gotta ask a question.
I just echo again, on your 6-month anniversary, thanks a ton for what you're doing, the forethought and the planning, everything else that's going into it, and keep it up, so thank you. It's making a difference.
Thank you.
You know, Elizabeth, I took a boot camp social media program through Chamber Professionals,
Yes.
and you are hitting every mark that
That's
they
just
said
like
to do. When somebody
if you-
comments, you engage. That just keeps and that's why, how
You're
many
giving them
new
anything that's
likes have
theirs.
we picked up?
Over the weekend, I believe 60. I don't know, something like
But
that.
it's
I'm
just
just
the
doing an
engagement.
intuition. I have no clue what I'm doing. And just it's been fun to see it. That's how we got that. We got that call today. Somebody is interested in the brick, doing like the memorial brick stuff. People want to get involved and help. That's how we have our new accountant. That's how we found Madison. I mean, it's just so thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll put it with your other one.
Can I get no comments down there?
I have one last question
Sure.
regarding the budget. If there's any changes to that, I'm not sure what the next step is because we have to, at May's meeting is when you all will approve it to go on to
I don't
village
think
council.
we had any changes to it
So,
today with the budget workshop.
okay, so I'll probably have to talk to you about it because you guys talked about funding staff for admin because the numbers in there weren't
Mm-hmm.
what you thought they were. So I guess you'll talk to me about that later or.
It was spoken that all we asked is did that $4,000 that has been contributed to Madison,
Mhm.
it was in the budget following through, so
It wouldn't be enough for a year, that would.
I know. So
Okay.
that's where it was. We didn't add any more money to it. So are you asking me,
I guess I thought you guys were, I had no idea what you guys were talking about when we left. So
Okay.
if that money's not adjusted, that would be the budget for a whole entire year of having somebody as an assistant. That's not a lot of funding. So all of the money under the employment is at where the levels are currently. So I'm not asking anybody to answer that right now. I'm just saying, moving forward, I'm not sure where you want to go with the budget. So I guess,
Well, that was the only sticking point, so I guess
We have not adopted the budget.
we haven't
have a
adopted it,
Correct.
but we need to,
do you want to schedule another workshop before next?
No,
no, I think it's just the employment committee that did the hiring, right?
Okay, so you guys are meeting prior to when the budget, the board packet will be put together for next month?
I'm not on that subcommittee. You guys are meeting.
Okay,
That's it, you
All
guys.
right, we can meet, we can bring back a recommendation. Yep.
Okay.
and there was open discussion where you were there about some items.
6 cases.
I suppose we'll vote against the entire budget or for
Right,
it
right.
at some point. As long as that funding for that one item is in there, I'll end up voting against it.
okay. So before May's meeting, we have to get together. Okay, now can I have a motion to adjourn?
Mm-hmm. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support. God bless you.
Bless you.
Who was the support?
I was.
All in favor?
Aye.
Buscemi was-